Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Dr. Rhonda Patrick, and today we are diving into a topic that affects millions of people worldwide: sleep. More specifically, what happens when you consistently get less than 7 hours of sleep per night, and the simple yet powerful exercise that can help counteract some of the negative effects. Sleep is not just a luxury. It is one of the most critical pillars of health, impacting everything from your brain function to cardiovascular health, metabolism, and even your longevity. First, let's take a moment to understand what happens in your body when you don't get enough sleep. Sleep is a highly orchestrated process that involves multiple stages, including light sleep, deep sleep, and REM sleep. Each of these stages has unique functions. For example, deep sleep is when your body performs most of its repair and regeneration. Growth hormone is released, muscles repair, and the immune system gets a boost. REM sleep, on the other hand, is critical for cognitive functions like memory consolidation, learning, and emotional regulation. Now, when you sleep less than 7 hours consistently, multiple systems in your body start to suffer. One of the first effects you'll notice is cognitive impairment. Your reaction time slows, your memory suffers, and your ability to focus diminishes. Studies have shown that sleep deprivation impairs decision-making and problem-solving skills, which can be especially dangerous if you are driving, operating machinery, or performing high-stakes tasks. But the consequences are not just mental, they are deeply physiological. Chronic sleep deprivation has been linked to a higher risk of obesity, diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. When you sleep less than 7 hours, your body produces more cortisol, the stress hormone, and less leptin, a hormone that signals fullness. This hormonal imbalance can increase appetite, cravings for unhealthy foods, and ultimately fat storage, especially around the abdomen. Additionally, sleep deprivation increases insulin resistance, which raises your risk of developing type 2 diabetes. But here's the critical part. You can mitigate some of these negative effects even if you can't immediately increase your sleep duration. This is where exercise comes into play. There is a growing body of research showing that regular physical activity can partially compensate for the cognitive and metabolic impairments caused by short sleep. Exercise increases blood flow to the brain, enhances mitochondrial function, and reduces inflammation, all of which help counteract the consequences of sleep loss. One particularly effective form of exercise in this context is aerobic exercise combined with a focus on high-intensity interval training, or HIIT aerobic exercise, such as brisk walking, cycling, or swimming. Improves cardiovascular health and increases oxygen delivery to tissues. HIIT involves alternating between short bursts of intense activity and periods of rest or low-intensity movement. Studies have shown that HIIT can improve insulin sensitivity, reduce stress hormone levels, and enhance overall metabolic function, even in people who are sleep deprived. It's fascinating because exercise doesn't just help the body, it also helps the brain. Sleep deprivation often leads to increased levels of beta amyloid, a protein associated with Alzheimer's disease, and impaired clearance of toxins from the brain. Exercise, particularly aerobic activity, increases cerebral blood flow, supports neurogenesis in the hippocampus, and improves cognitive performance. Essentially, even if you've had a poor night's sleep, getting moving can protect your brain and keep it functioning at a higher level. Now, I know many of you are thinking, but Dr. Patrick, I'm too tired to exercise if I didn't sleep well. And this is a very common concern. However, research indicates that even moderate exercise, like a 20 to 30-minute brisk walk, can reduce fatigue, improve mood, and increase alertness. Despite sleep loss, the key is consistency. Short bouts of daily movement rather than sporadic. Intense sessions are more effective for mitigating the negative impacts of insufficient sleep. In this video series, we're going to break down the most effective types of exercise for sleep-deprived individuals, how long and how often you should perform them, and how these practices biologically interact with your body to restore balance. We'll also look at some cutting-edge research on mitochondrial health, circadian rhythms, and inflammation, which are all deeply influenced by both sleep and exercise. So if you often find yourself sleeping less than 7 hours a night, stay tuned, because by the end of this video, you will have a clear, science-based exercise strategy that can help safeguard your health, boost your energy, and enhance your cognitive function even when your sleep is less than ideal. Before we move on to the specific exercises, let's first understand why certain systems in your body are particularly vulnerable to short sleep. One major system affected is your cardiovascular system. When you sleep less than 7 hours, blood pressure tends to rise, and the heart experiences more stress due to increased sympathetic nervous system activity. Chronic sleep deprivation can contribute to arterial stiffness, higher cholesterol, and an increased risk of heart disease. Exercise counters this by improving vascular elasticity, reducing blood pressure, and increasing heart rate variability, which is a marker of cardiovascular resilience. Another vulnerable system is your metabolic system. Sleep-deprived individuals tend to have higher circulating glucose and impaired lipid metabolism. This metabolic dysfunction can be partially reversed by exercise, which increases glucose uptake by muscles, improves insulin sensitivity, and enhances overall energy metabolism. Essentially, exercise acts as a protective buffer against the metabolic disturbances caused by insufficient sleep. Finally, we must consider the immune system. Sleep less than 7 hours per night has been shown to reduce natural killer cell activity and impair the body's ability to fight infections. Regular physical activity can enhance immune surveillance and reduce chronic inflammation, which is a major contributor to disease. This is one of those areas where small, consistent actions can produce huge benefits. You don't need to spend hours in the gym or push yourself to exhaustion. Even brief, targeted exercise sessions can significantly improve brain function, metabolism, and cardiovascular health when sleep is limited. Stay with me as we get into the actionable strategies that will help you feel better, think clearer, and protect your long-term health, even if life sometimes prevents you from getting a full night of sleep. Welcome back. Now that we've explored why insufficient sleep is such a serious issue and how exercise can act as a protective mechanism, let's get into the actionable part. Which exercises are most effective for people who are regularly sleeping less than 7 hours, and why they work so well at a physiological level? First, let's talk about aerobic exercise. This is any activity that raises your heart rate and keeps it elevated for a sustained period, typically 20 to 60 minutes. Examples include brisk walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, and rowing. Aerobic exercise is highly effective for mitigating the metabolic and cognitive consequences of sleep deprivation. Here's why. During aerobic activity, your heart pumps more blood, delivering oxygen and nutrients to your brain and muscles. Increased blood flow enhances mitochondrial function, which is crucial because mitochondria are responsible for producing the energy your cells need to function. Sleep deprivation impairs mitochondrial efficiency, which contributes to fatigue and cognitive decline. Aerobic exercise essentially helps restore energy production at the cellular level. A second critical benefit of aerobic exercise is its impact on stress hormones. When you sleep less than 7 hours, cortisol levels remain elevated for longer periods, which can promote inflammation, insulin resistance, and fat accumulation. Regular aerobic activity helps modulate cortisol by activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for the rest and digest response over time. And this reduces chronic stress and improves hormonal balance, even when your sleep is suboptimal. Now, let's talk about high-intensity interval training, or HIIT. HIIT consists of alternating periods of intense activity with periods of rest or low-intensity movement. A classic example is sprinting for 30 seconds, and then walking or jogging for 60 seconds, repeated for 15 to 20 minutes. Research shows that HIIT is particularly powerful for improving insulin sensitivity, cardiovascular function, and metabolic flexibility. For sleep-deprived individuals, HIIT can help normalize glucose metabolism and reduce fat storage, counteracting one of the major negative consequences of short sleep. Beyond metabolic benefits, HIIT also improves brain health. Intense bursts of exercise stimulate the release of brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is like fertilizer for your brain. It promotes the growth of new neurons, enhances synaptic plasticity, and improves learning and memory. Sleep deprivation typically reduces BDNF levels, which can impair cognitive function. HIIT and aerobic exercise help restore these levels, protecting your brain even when your sleep has been compromised. It's important to understand the timing of exercise in relation to sleep. While early morning or midday exercise can boost alertness and mood, exercising too close to bedtime, particularly high-intensity workouts, may interfere with your ability to fall asleep. This is because exercise increases core body temperature and adrenaline, both of which need time to decline before sleep onset. And for people struggling with short sleep, a good rule of thumb is to finish vigorous exercise at least 2 to 3 hours before you plan to go to bed. Moderate intensity exercise, such as a light walk or gentle yoga, can be done closer to bedtime and may even help promote sleep. Consistency is key. A single exercise session can temporarily improve alertness and glucose metabolism, but to truly counteract the negative effects of chronic sleep deprivation, regular exercise is essential. Aim for at least 150 minutes of moderate aerobic activity per week, combined with 2 to 3 HIIT sessions or resistance training sessions. Resistance training is another critical component. Lifting weights or performing bodyweight exercises not only strengthens muscles, but also improves insulin sensitivity and supports hormonal balance. Sleep-deprived individuals often experience decreased muscle protein synthesis, which can lead to muscle loss over time. Resistance training helps counteract this effect. Let's break down a sample weekly routine for someone who frequently sleeps less than 7 hours. You could start with 3 days of 30-minute brisk walking or cycling, 2 days of 20-minute HIIT, and 2 days of full body resistance training. Even if your sleep is suboptimal, this combination enhances cardiovascular health, improves glucose metabolism, and supports cognitive function. Another strategy is to incorporate exercise snacks. These are short, frequent bouts of activity throughout the day, such as climbing stairs, doing a set of squats, or walking for 5 to 10 minutes. Studies show that even these brief movements can improve insulin sensitivity, boost energy, and enhance alertness. For individuals who are chronically sleep deprived, exercise snacks can be especially valuable because they require minimal time commitment but still provide physiological benefits. Finally, let's touch on the psychological benefits of exercise for sleep-deprived individuals. Chronic short sleep is associated with increased anxiety, irritability, and low mood. Physical activity stimulates the release of endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, all of which improve mood, reduce stress, and enhance motivation. Even if you're tired, moving your body can give you a mental boost, helping you feel more awake and focused throughout the day. Now that we've covered the types of exercises that are most effective for sleep-deprived individuals, let's take a deeper dive into the science behind why exercise works so powerfully to counteract the effects of sleeping less than 7 hours. Understanding these mechanisms will help you optimize your routine and truly harness the protective benefits of movement. Let's start with the brain. Sleep deprivation impairs cognitive function, including attention, memory, and decision-making. One reason for this is the accumulation of metabolic waste in the brain during deep sleep. The glymphatic system, essentially the brain's cleaning system, removes toxins such as beta amyloid and tau proteins, which are linked to Alzheimer's disease when you don't sleep enough. And this clearance is reduced, leading to the accumulation of these harmful proteins. Exercise, particularly aerobic exercise, helps partially compensate for this by increasing cerebral blood flow. Enhanced blood flow supports the delivery of oxygen and nutrients while also facilitating the removal of metabolic waste. In other words, even if you're missing a couple of hours of sleep, exercise helps keep your brain cleaner and functioning more efficiently. Another critical factor is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. BDNF is a protein that promotes neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to form new connections, and is essential for learning and memory. Sleep deprivation reduces BDNF levels, which can impair cognitive performance. Exercise, especially high-intensity interval training and aerobic activity, stimulates the release of BDNF, effectively boosting your brain's resilience against the negative effects of short sleep. This means that even if your sleep is suboptimal, your ability to focus, retain information, and solve problems can be preserved through regular exercise. Next, let's look at mitochondrial health. Mitochondria are the energy factories of your cells, producing ATP, the molecule your body uses for energy. Sleep deprivation impairs mitochondrial function, leading to fatigue, decreased exercise capacity, and reduced cellular repair. Regular aerobic exercise enhances mitochondrial biogenesis, the production of new mitochondria, and improves mitochondrial efficiency. This means your cells become better at generating energy, which counteracts the fatigue and reduced performance associated with insufficient sleep. HIIT has been shown to be particularly effective in stimulating mitochondrial adaptations because it creates periods of intense energy demand, followed by recovery, which trains your cells to become more resilient. Inflammation is another key area affected by insufficient sleep. Sleep deprivation triggers an increase in pro-inflammatory cytokines, which can contribute to chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and neurodegeneration. Exercise acts as a powerful anti-inflammatory stimulus. Moderate intensity aerobic exercise reduces systemic inflammation, while HIIT and resistance training help modulate inflammatory pathways at the cellular level. Over time, consistent exercise can normalize inflammatory markers, protecting your body from the long-term consequences of chronic sleep loss. Hormonal balance is also profoundly affected by both sleep and exercise. As we discussed earlier, sleep deprivation increases cortisol, the stress hormone, and disrupts leptin and ghrelin, hormones that regulate appetite. Exercise helps regulate these hormones. For example, aerobic exercise reduces baseline cortisol levels and improves the cortisol awakening response, which is critical for energy regulation and stress management. Resistance training and HIIT increase growth hormone secretion, which supports muscle repair, fat metabolism, and overall recovery. Essentially, exercise helps restore hormonal balance, even when your sleep is compromised. Let's not forget the cardiovascular system. Short sleep increases sympathetic nervous system activity, leading to elevated heart rate and blood pressure, as well as impaired vascular function. Regular aerobic and interval exercise improve endothelial function, enhance heart rate variability, and reduce blood pressure. This cardiovascular conditioning acts as a buffer against the long-term damage caused by chronic sleep restriction. Even short bouts of exercise throughout the day, such as walking or climbing stairs, contribute to maintaining cardiovascular health. Another fascinating aspect is exercise effect on circadian rhythms. Sleep deprivation often disrupts your internal clock, leading to fatigue, poor appetite regulation, and mood disturbances. Physical activity acts as a Zeitgeber, a cue that helps synchronize your circadian rhythms, and morning or early afternoon exercise is especially effective at reinforcing your natural sleep-wake cycle, which can help you fall asleep more easily and improve the quality of your next night's rest. Finally, the psychological benefits of exercise cannot be overstated. Chronic sleep deprivation often leads to irritability, anxiety, and depression. Physical activity triggers the release of endorphins, dopamine, and serotonin, neurotransmitters that enhance mood, motivation, and resilience. This creates a positive feedback loop. Exercise improves mood and energy, which makes it easier to engage in further activity, maintain cognitive function, and even improve subsequent sleep quality. In summary, exercise impacts multiple interconnected systems: the brain, mitochondria, hormones, cardiovascular system, inflammation, and circadian rhythms. This is why it is such a powerful tool for anyone who is unable to consistently achieve 7 or more hours of sleep. By engaging in a combination of aerobic activity, HIIT, and resistance training, you can partially compensate for the physiological and cognitive deficits caused by sleep deprivation. Now that we've explored the science behind why exercise is so effective at counteracting the effects of sleeping less than 7 hours, it's time to get practical. In this segment, we'll focus on how to implement a targeted exercise routine that protects your body and brain even when sleep is suboptimal. So this is about efficiency, sustainability, and maximizing results without pushing your system too far. First, let's discuss frequency and timing. Ideally, you want to engage in some form of physical activity every day, even if it's brief. The goal is to create consistent stimuli for your brain, mitochondria, and cardiovascular system. For those who are chronically sleep deprived, even short bouts of exercise can have profound benefits. Think of this as compensatory exercise. You are not replacing sleep, but you are mitigating its absence. A good baseline is 20 to 40 minutes of moderate aerobic exercise on most days, combined with 2 to 3 higher intensity sessions per week. So if your schedule is packed, you can break this down into shorter sessions. 2 10-minute walks or 3 5-minute movement breaks spread throughout the day can still improve glucose metabolism, alertness, and mood. Next, let's break down intensity. One of the most important principles is listening to your body. If you are severely sleep deprived, your ability to perform high-intensity exercise may be compromised. In such cases, prioritize moderate intensity aerobic exercise, brisk walking, light cycling, or swimming over HIIT. As your energy improves, or on days when you have slightly better sleep, incorporate HIIT or resistance training sessions. The key is progression and avoiding overtraining, because pushing too hard on insufficient sleep can increase stress hormones and inflammation, counteracting the benefits of exercise. Resistance training is a cornerstone of a sleep deprivation mitigation strategy. Sleep-deprived individuals often experience reduced muscle protein synthesis and slower recovery. Engaging in full-body resistance workouts 2 to 3 times per week helps maintain muscle mass, improves insulin sensitivity, and supports hormonal balance. You don't need to spend hours in the gym. Body weight exercises like push-ups, squats, lunges, and planks, or using resistance bands can be just as effective if performed consistently. Focus on compound movements that engage multiple muscle groups to maximize efficiency and metabolic impact. Exercise snacks are another powerful tool. These are short, frequent bouts of movement, just 2 to 5 minutes at a time, that can be integrated into your day, especially during long periods of sitting. Examples include taking the stairs, doing a set of squats, walking around the office, or performing a few jumping jacks. Research shows that even these brief bouts of activity improve insulin sensitivity, increase energy expenditure, and enhance alertness. For people with limited sleep, exercise snacks help maintain circulation, reduce fatigue, and support cognitive function without requiring a full workout. Now, let's talk about combining exercise with other lifestyle strategies to maximize benefits. Hydration is critical. Sleep-deprived individuals often have impaired thermoregulation and are more susceptible to dehydration, which can exacerbate fatigue and cognitive decline. Make sure you're drinking adequate water throughout the day, and consider electrolyte-rich beverages if you're engaging in longer or higher intensity sessions. Nutrition is equally important. Focus on protein to support muscle repair, healthy fats to reduce inflammation, and complex carbohydrates to maintain energy levels. Exercise paired with proper nutrition can significantly amplify the restorative effects of movement, even when sleep is limited. Another important consideration is recovery. While exercise is beneficial, your body still needs time to repair and adapt. Even if you sleep less than 7 hours, incorporating light recovery practices such as stretching, foam rolling, or short yoga sessions can reduce muscle soreness, improve circulation, and enhance parasympathetic activity. Gentle recovery exercises also support brain health by reducing stress and promoting relaxation, which can partially offset the emotional strain caused by insufficient sleep. Let's also consider morning versus evening workouts. Morning exercise has the advantage of reinforcing your circadian rhythm, boosting alertness and improving mood for the rest of the day. Evening exercise can be effective, but should avoid high-intensity sessions within 2 to 3 hours of bedtime, as it can elevate core body temperature and adrenaline, making it harder to fall asleep if your sleep window is already restricted. Prioritizing morning or early afternoon sessions is generally optimal. Finally, mindset plays a huge role. Chronic sleep deprivation can lead to feelings of fatigue, low motivation, and mental fog, making exercise feel impossible. Instead of viewing exercise as another exhausting task, reframe it as a restorative tool, something that protects your brain, metabolism, and heart from the harmful effects of insufficient sleep. Even a short 10-minute walk or a single resistance set is a win, and consistency over time produces exponential benefits. In summary, a practical routine for sleep-deprived individuals includes daily movement, moderate intensity aerobic exercise most days, 2 to 3 resistance or HIIT sessions weekly, short exercise snacks throughout the day, proper hydration and nutrition, and gentle recovery strategies. Combined with a positive mindset and attention to circadian timing, this approach can substantially reduce the physiological and cognitive consequences of chronic short sleep. Now that we've covered the science and practical strategies for exercising when you sleep less than 7 hours, let's explore advanced techniques and additional lifestyle strategies that can supercharge the benefits of your routine. These approaches are designed to optimize energy production, brain function, and metabolic health even when sleep is limited. First, let's talk about breathing techniques. Controlled breathing exercises such as diaphragmatic breathing or box breathing can significantly reduce stress and improve autonomic nervous system. Balanced sleep deprivation increases sympathetic nervous system activity, the fight or flight response, leading to elevated cortisol and heart rate. Regular practice of deep, slow breathing activates the parasympathetic nervous system, reducing cortisol, lowering blood pressure, and improving heart rate variability. Incorporating breathing exercises before, during, or after your workouts can enhance recovery, reduce fatigue, and amplify the restorative effects of exercise. Next, cold exposure is an increasingly popular tool for mitigating the effects of sleep deprivation. Cold showers, ice baths, or even brief exposure to cold air can improve circulation, reduce inflammation, and enhance alertness. From a cellular perspective, cold exposure activates brown adipose tissue, increases mitochondrial efficiency, and stimulates the release of norepinephrine, a neurotransmitter that enhances focus and mood. When combined with exercise, cold exposure can further offset the cognitive and metabolic consequences of insufficient sleep, helping you feel more awake and energized throughout the day. Nutrient timing is another critical consideration. Sleep deprivation impairs glucose metabolism and reduces insulin sensitivity, which can lead to energy crashes and increased fat storage. Consuming protein-rich meals post-exercise supports muscle repair and growth hormone release, while complex carbohydrates before or after activity provide sustained energy for both the brain and muscles. Antioxidants from fruits and vegetables can reduce exercise-induced oxidative stress, which is elevated when sleep is limited. Paying attention to when and what you eat in relation to your workouts can optimize energy production and recovery, maximizing the benefits of your exercise routine. Let's also discuss the importance of movement throughout the day. Even if you complete your structured exercise sessions, long periods of sedentary behavior can negate many of the benefits. Sleep-deprived individuals often experience increased fatigue and mental fog, which can lead to more sitting. Incorporating frequent short walks, standing breaks, or light stretching helps maintain circulation, supports glucose metabolism, and keeps your nervous system active. Think of this as a daily movement supplement that complements your main workouts. Another strategy is mindful exercise. Practices like yoga, tai chi, or Pilates combine physical movement with focused attention on breath and body awareness. Mindful exercise improves flexibility, balance, and muscle strength, while simultaneously reducing stress and enhancing parasympathetic activity. For people with limited sleep, these low-intensity mindful practices can be particularly effective at improving cognitive function and emotional regulation without overstimulating the nervous system. Sleep-deprived individuals also benefit from structured recovery periods. High-quality recovery is essential for the nervous system, muscles, and mitochondria. Techniques such as stretching, foam rolling, massage, or even short naps can help your body repair and restore energy. Research shows that even brief naps of 10 to 20 minutes can improve alertness, cognitive performance, and mood, providing a mini reset that allows you to better tolerate the effects of insufficient sleep. Finally, let's consider consistency and long-term adaptation. Chronic sleep deprivation places ongoing stress on your body, but regular exercise creates adaptive resilience. Over weeks and months, your cardiovascular system becomes more efficient, mitochondria multiply and improve energy production, hormone regulation stabilizes, and cognitive function becomes more resilient to short-term sleep loss. The key is consistency. Even small, manageable exercise sessions performed regularly are far more effective than sporadic, intense efforts. In summary, the ultimate strategy for mitigating the effects of sleeping less than 7 hours involves a combination of aerobic exercise, HIIT resistance training, exercise, snacks, controlled breathing, cold exposure, nutrient timing, mindful movement, and structured recovery. So each of these components targets specific physiological systems, including your brain, mitochondria, cardiovascular system, hormones, and inflammation. When combined, they provide a comprehensive defense against the cognitive, metabolic, and emotional consequences of insufficient sleep. Remember, while exercise cannot replace the restorative functions of deep, uninterrupted sleep, it is one of the most powerful tools you have to protect your health and performance when life prevents you from getting the sleep you need. By implementing these strategies consistently, you can maintain energy, focus, and resilience, and even improve your long-term health outcomes despite occasional sleep restriction. So, start with small, consistent steps. Daily movement, aerobic activity, resistance training, and mindful recovery, and gradually build up to incorporate advanced strategies like cold exposure, breathing techniques, and nutrient timing. Over time, these practices will help you maintain optimal brain function, metabolism, and cardiovascular health, even in a world where short sleep is increasingly common. Thank you for joining me today. Prioritize movement, be consistent, and remember that even small efforts can create big benefits. Your body and brain are incredibly adaptive, and with the right exercise strategies, you can thrive even when sleep is less than ideal.